Good afternoon from Kyiv. This is Joe Lindsley, and I'm talking with my friend Max.
The freedom to choose no matter what, even in the most dangerous conditions or terms around, I have this freedom to choose.
Before we continue, we invite you to follow our channel, the only American show reporting live from Ukraine every day.
Good afternoon from Kyiv. This is Joe Lindsley with our Radio War Day 1034, and I'm talking with my friend Max in Kharkiv.
Yeah, I'm Max. I'm from Kharkiv. I'm from Volonterska Charity Fund. I'm from many companies like in this city, but basically I'm in Kharkiv, and now I'm here with Joe, with my friend.
Max, thanks for joining. And since we lost the daily WGN show, it's actually been a nice new opportunity to. It's not just me, blah blah blah, me talking to Americans, but now we get to bring in people such as you. Some of the people whose stories I've been telling to that radio audience these past almost 3 years, and now people get to actually meet some of these characters that have been a key part of the story that they've been listening to for 3 years. And Max, by the way, first, did you watch the Usyk fight?
No, I didn't. I didn't have time actually because we were launching our new fundraising campaign, and we were very short in time. So the only thing I did, I watched through the titles, news titles, and that was enough for me. Well, basically, I was sure he would win. So
yeah,
okay, I got it. Thank you.
He was. I think, and it was a good. I mean, those things are. It's always a good boost to have because we'll get into this in our conversation today. But talking about some of the we're kind of you were just talking earlier to me about how it's fairly quiet now in Kharkiv. Is that or no?
Fairly quiet. Yeah, that's a good idiom. Yeah, fairly quiet
compared to what it's been sometimes, and how that that would seem like a great thing, but actually it can affect the mood in a negative way. And I want to make sure we discuss that today. And also, I mean, because here in Kyiv on Friday, it felt to me like Kharkiv. Usually Kyiv is well protected because there's the Patriot missile defense system. Kharkiv does not have, as you know, Max, those protections. And Kyiv felt like being in Kharkiv, man. Just missile after missile after missile hitting in the center of the city, and almost one of those days when you think, "Could this be it? is this the end?" That's a feeling that is common there in Kharkiv. And also in our conversation today, I want to talk about. I see that your whiteboard behind you. We're not spying. We're not snooping on it, but the people can zoom in. But we had over a year ago, it was summer of 2023. A great conversation about how do we, reach Americans who, how do we punch through the propaganda and reach Americans who we know would love Ukraine if they just knew the reality. And so we can talk about that. I think you're a great strategist. I know you're a great strategist on that. But Max, first, what can you tell us? What is your work professionally, and then also your volunteer work? What do you do in Kharkiv, your home city?
Okay, before the full-scale invasion, I basically called myself or perceived myself as just an entrepreneur. And being an entrepreneur called for two kinds of expertise. First is strategic expertise, because I was responsible for the business growth, and I was helping my clients to grow and so on. And the second expertise is creative expertise, because you can't execute this strategy without implementing it in some creative way to be heard, seen, and listened to. But after the full-scale invasion, I'm a bit lost in describing who I am because all the senses, all the meanings of my profession or expertise back then seem to be lost a bit. I'm not sure. Now I'm more of a volunteer than a strategist or a creative. So when I have a chance to talk to people like you and to somehow help with my expertise to bring something to the table and help someone to do something meaningful, I'm always happy. So you know me as a strategist. I call myself a volunteer today. That's it.
Well, we should mention, I mean, Max, you have a wide variety of entrepreneurial projects from your no bullshit English school to you had even you opened a sandwich shop in Kharkiv, Kawabunga, during the wartime. It was pretty impressive, and we've had many great road trips through wartime road trips through Donbass, delivering supplies, especially the what do they call the drone jamming backpacks, which we deliver to which you do all the time, and sometimes I've been able to join you on those trips. And we all, it's a couple hours of driving from Kharkiv city, really through the beautiful fields of Donbass. You'll pass burned out villages, like something from a medieval nightmare. But and we always have these great conversations because you got all this time in the car to talk. And you'll see, I know you've seen it, but I started to post because we came up one of those road trips. We came up with this idea, how war can fix your brain, and this in the sense of like you have more. It sounds sort of bizarre, I think, to people on the outside, but you have to face the questions of life more boldly and more directly because you see how limited it is, and then people are more willing to have those conversations. And so, the closer you get to the edge, to the precipice, it's like the more you can be free in your communication. And so I've started to, a year later, to put these together in little videos. And I can even see that becoming a book, how war can fix your brain, some kind of self-help from Ukraine.
How war can fix your brains. Lesson number 1. There's no such thing as resilience. Only resilient people. One of Sir Winston Churchill's favorite phrases was keep buggering on, abbreviated KBO. Watch here from the film Into the Storm in an imagined scene between Churchill and King George.
And what's your phrase? Keep buggering on.
That's right, sir. KBO.
They both tell each other to KBO. There's no such thing as resilience, only resilient people. I've heard this exact phrase from 2 people in Ukraine. Famed photographer humanitarian Giles Dooley, who lost both legs and an arm and nearly died in Afghanistan and still comes to Ukraine to volunteer. And Father Andrei Zelinsky, a Jesuit philosopher novelist who founded Ukraine's military chaplaincy. I see now that their words are true. Resilience doesn't exist. It's not a thing. There are only people who, by choosing to carry on in the face of hell, become resilient people. Resilient describes someone who keeps choosing not to quit. I did not understand this distinction at first, but now after 3 years of war, I think I will never again speak of that abstract word, only of resilient people.
KBO, Winston. KBO, sir.
How War Can Fix Your Brain by J.P. Lindsley. War lesson number 2. War makes bad people worse and good people better. I first heard this from a Catholic priest who, along with 3 nuns, bravely keeps a parish in Kharkiv, within sight of Russia and frequently under rockets.
War works another way. Good people become better and evil people become more evil.
It's true. I've seen the fakers with big foundations who come here only for glory and money. I've seen those who run and hide. I've encountered the war profiteers. They might do cosmetic good here and there, but that deception makes them all the more evil. They've been waiting for this moment all their lives. And I've seen the good people who face their weaknesses to do great things they never thought possible, even if they kinda hate it sometimes. Their example is why I call Ukraine the world's best self-help book. As C.S. Lewis said in World War II, war clarifies. Facing such an existential threat, surrounded by suffering, you can't just be good. You necessarily must become great.
Good people become better and evil people become more evil.
How War Can Fix Your Brain by J.P. Lindsley. War lesson number 3. Most people have some days when they wish for a missile to hit them. Stress, exhaustion, and the strange periods of calm can leave people feeling stuck. It's a fleeting thought, but a common one. And so you simply talk it out with friends or strangers. Most everyone in Ukraine is in it together. And soon you're back on track. Or an actual missile flies overhead and you realize you don't really want that. This feeling also leads to a surprising freedom, especially of speech. When you feel the limits of time, you don't waste it. You become, as Walker Percy described, the ex-suicide. The ex-suicide opens his front door, sits down on the steps, and laughs. Since he has the option of being dead, he has nothing to lose by being alive. It is good to be alive. He goes to work because he doesn't have to.
That they begin to see what has gone wrong and where the truth lies.
For this reason, I despise person on the street reporting that makes random passing thoughts into policy and mood-shaping headlines without context. The waves don't have to define the tides in life and war.
And I really thank you for this project. This is probably the most favorite show of mine as for today. The only probably show that I watch each episode of this show. So thank you for making it real. Yeah.
Well, Max, I know you don't have much time to watch shows. I mean, for one, you have a young kid at home, a baby still, and born in the war, in a wartime city, because you and your wife chose to stay there in Kharkiv, and then you have, in addition to your businesses, I mean, the volunteer project, Volunteerska. I mean, it took me a while to understand all the different operations you guys have and everything you're doing, but it's working with the military. Also humanitarian efforts, and I was in Odessa a few months ago talking with a British journalist, Felicity Spector, and she uses her holidays to help volunteer in Ukraine. So her work is not related to Ukraine, and she comes here to volunteer, and she likes to write about food and drink and such on the side. And she was telling me about this amazing program in Kharkiv where this group called Volunteerska, led by this guy named Max, goes to villages in Kharkiv region, like maybe an hour or more outside of the city. The Russians had previously occupied it, and you help people in the village demine their gardens, their backyards, and their fields, so they can grow vegetables again. And then you help them sell those vegetables to restaurants in Kharkiv city.
Yeah.
And so I know that guy.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
And that was
behind me, the whole big team behind me. Yeah.
But I mean, what I like about that is that you're benefiting, you're helping everyone in Kharkiv, sort of be in this together. You're helping the people that might otherwise be forgotten in these small villages that have gone through such hell. And then now, when people come to Kharkiv and they go to a restaurant, you're eating the produce from the fields that have been reclaimed from that Russian hell.
Yeah, that's why I call this project probably one of the most important projects of this wartime for us. Because if I was to name some big idea behind Volunteerska, this would be exactly it. To keep the community going and to keep this feeling that everything's going to be fine because you have good people around who are always happy to help and who will stand with you and who will keep on fighting no matter what. So yeah, probably this is something that motivates me more than anything else in volunteering.
And Max, you said, because we talked about how, Kharkiv goes through these different phases. Sometimes it's a period of very much sustained attacks. I was looking, I put together on Twitter or X the other day a list of all the red lines that Putin has announced. And then, most of them have been crossed and crossed many times. And I remember back in last May, well, I wasn't there, but Kharkiv, was almost being destroyed. And finally, the White House gave permission for for Ukrainians to hit Russian launch points on Russian soil, because you're so close to Russia, just about 30 miles from the border. And when that permission arrived, all of a sudden Kharkiv became safer. This is a story that people still miss completely. But when Ukraine was given more permission and power, you were able to stop, at least for a few months. And if I remember, wasn't it? It was a calmer summer. I mean, like for May was hell, and then June was more spooky.
Yeah, true. True. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it was all due to that change of permission. And then Russians had time to adapt, and then they attack again. But you were saying to me that it's depressing. Like I want to let you articulate it, but when the times when you're being attacked, like almost every day, there's adrenaline and energy. And then the times like now where we see, there's a lot of maneuverings happening, in Washington and everywhere else. You're not being attacked in Kharkiv as intensely as you have been before. What is your mood during this time?
Yeah, like I said, probably back then everything was clear. We are under regular shelling. Adrenaline level is always high. And this feeling of life is very strong. Every second is lived through. You can feel it because the next second you might be dead. Now, it's weird. I mean, probably that's something I should take to my shrink, but now I don't feel as safe as I used to when Kharkiv was under shelling, which is weird. I know. I'm telling about it, and I can feel it's weird, but that's what it is for me now. It's like stillness before the storm. So it's like I'm waiting for something much worse than just Iskander or C-400 or whatever. So something like, I'm just waiting for something bad happening. Though I understand nothing bad will happen. Nothing worse than it used to be will happen. But still, that's quite an uncomfortable period of time. Or maybe this is just an exhaustion, which is always an option.
You had this, I forget what it was, maybe in September. You had an incredible journey in order to kind of keep your mental health. I remember you told me you always used to, before the full-scale war, go somewhere for a month or a long time with no, turn your phone off and disconnect, like the Highlands of Scotland. And you can't do that now, obviously. But you went on this interesting pilgrimage in Ukraine, like a Ukrainian version of the Camino de Santiago. What is that story?
That was my way to save my mentality. Yeah, because I was really exhausted, and also my number one value is freedom, which I understand now, and I understood back then. And so even at times of war, I physically need to travel, to grab new experiences, to put myself in some not so ordinary situations. And so this path, Camino Podolico, was one of the options for me to get everything I just mentioned, to feel this freedom, to walk, to physically put myself in some kind of challenge or something of a kind, and also to know better my country, because the majority of places I visited were the ones I had never known nothing about. So yeah, that was quite an experience. Unfortunately, it was too short to keep my mentality for long, but at least for a month, I felt absolutely happy.
And you walked for several days, yeah, and you would stay at strangers' houses, just knocking their door and.
Well, basically, yes. It was 6 days, 250 kilometers. No idea how many miles it is. Don't ask me to recalculate. Miles. No, just joking. So yeah, that was quite an experience, and I will definitely. I was even thinking that maybe that could be a part of uh, um, how should I call it? Rehabilitation? No, not rehabilitation. Treatment for the warriors, for the soldiers who come back, because it's quite a mindful, spiritual experience. So this is just an idea of mine. I'm just thinking it over. That's it.
Walking through the countryside,
Yeah.
a lot of historic buildings, castles, and all kinds of stuff, and
Yeah, a lot of
being in the
nature,
nature.
a lot of
Right.
great people, a lot of good food, a lot of just walking, thinking, listening, smelling. So maybe, I don't know.
Are you still running often there in Kharkiv?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. At least I try. At least I try. The weather is not that good for running. That's why I sometimes do it in the gym. But yes, I do. Because again, I have not so many tools to keep sane. To stay sane. Basically try to have a good sleep, eat well, hydrate, run, and do some other mindful stuff, anything that might help. Because now I again physically feel I need it more than ever before.
I hear you, man. Like when I lost the radio show last week, I well, I should have gone running more and further. Instead, I slept. I mean, I was probably just exhausted, but I slept. I slept a lot. Thinking of running in Kharkiv, I miss the summertime there. Those parks in Kharkiv are incredible. They're well maintained, clean, and it's even when you hear artillery in the distance or rockets. It is such a lovely city. I want Americans to understand and feel that place, because it 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 shows. I think for one, it shows Americans an example of how to build a nice city. That's one thing that we need, clean and safe, and with a great sense of community. And then you see also the damage and the destruction, block to block. And so Kharkiv, that juxtaposition in Kharkiv, to me, is the most powerful symbol of a powerful recognition of the hell that's happening, but also of the possibility of defeating this evil. Kharkiv is the model for that, I think.
Yeah, and probably the spirit of people, because for me, all the people living in Kharkiv today are the ones I can definitely trust and I respect so much for keeping the city clean, for keeping the city safe. Well, sure thing, thanks to the army first of all, but the people here, they do a lot each day, and that's why when I'm asked why did I decide to stay here, I didn't know how to reply. I mean, come to Kharkiv, live here for a week, and you'll understand everything yourself. Because all the arguments are a bit crazy. They seem to be a bit crazy, especially when you have a kid and you stay here. Like what? That's what Kharkiv is for me, a magical city.
Yeah, well said. It doesn't seem like you could make a logic. It's not. There's a deep logic to it, but not something that people readily understand. And I think, and that's why I always want to tell the story of Kharkiv, because in America we talk so much about freedom, but we don't know what it is. We don't know how to define it because we're not forced to define it. And I think a lot of people are feeling in America very unfree. They feel maybe they don't like their job, they don't like their commute, they don't like always being in the car or not knowing your neighbors, and that creates a sense of unfreedom. Whereas in Kharkiv, it's very scary very often, and missiles can hit without notice. But by the way, does that still happen? Do missiles still hit without notice, or do you have?
Oh man, I'm so used to shelling, to shaheds, all this shit that I don't even recognize the shelling. I mean, I read about it. If it's not loud nearby, I just read about it. That's
Man,
craziness.
same.
Yeah. So
Moments ago here in Kyiv, I'm sitting. I thought I heard something. I ignored it, and then I see the messages. Oh, drones attacking the city.
Yeah, because it's impossible to be in control, to be in regular control all the time, because I just go crazy when I do it. That's why I don't listen to sirens. Please don't do it. Never, never copy my behavior. Please do pay attention to sirens. I'm just saying that I can't. I'm done.
Yeah, man. And Max, as I look at your whiteboard behind you, because you are a great strategist, and you help people ask the right questions to figure out what their missions are, what their purposes are, and we talked in 2023 about how to tell the story of Ukraine to Americans, and I mentioned this to you. If you don't have to give the advice now, but we can talk about it. But with the election of Trump, so the new administration taking shape in Washington, there's some good signs, there's some worrying indicators, but I think it's a process, and I think every moment that Ukrainians are not making the case, the pro-Russian crowd is making the case, and so it's a very intense time. And I know a lot of people in that world, and but it's interesting to me. I've been getting this feedback the past weeks. Some of the people who support Ukraine, who were like saying that Trump was Hitler and we're all going to be dead, are now telling me how to communicate to the world of Donald Trump. They're like, Joe, you need to, like, because I focus a lot on cultural things. I know that my family and friends and people in that world in the U.S. Who I respect, the culture matters very much, and these high principles matter. So I want them to see like what a lovely place Kharkiv is, and what a traditional place Lviv is. I know that would influence people, but all these experts who a few months ago were saying, quite nasty stuff about Trump, now they're experts on how to communicate with the world of Trump, and they say, Joe, we just need to focus on security topics and all that, and I think they don't see. I mean, that might be it certainly is rational to talk about security, but they just don't fundamentally see the mood in America, which is something that we got when you asked me those questions in 2023. You really helped me precisely define the mood that I already knew, but this deep skepticism of government, of internet, of America getting involved in foreign projects. After Iraq and Afghanistan, they're like, "Come on, guys, that never works." They're sick of that stuff, and I think we really have to fundamentally understand it. We can't, and it has to be sincere. It can't be, okay, now we know we got to work with Trump, and so we got to, we'll just put it, we'll smile and we'll act like we always were fans of you or something. It has to be. You really have to deeply understand the mood in America and the skepticism, and I think that's. It's for me, and I've been working to sort of remove some of the blinders. I mean, like, again, one reason why a lot of Americans oppose Ukraine, it's one word, it's Burisma, which people thought I was crazy for talking about, and but did you see Elon Musk tweeted 3 days ago about Burisma? And so because I've been listening and paying attention, I'm like, these things are going to become a big deal when Trump comes into power. They're going to be investigating this stuff, and we need to show that Ukraine is completely detached from from these topics. Anyway, that's part of the thing I'm working on. But I have this. So on one side, I have pro-Ukraine people criticizing me, and then I have this very interesting wrinkle of Russian propaganda. So there'll be people who pretend to be pro-Ukraine coming after me. And for example, on Instagram, there are these so-called Ukrainian women with locked accounts. You can't tell who they really are. It could be some fat dude in a basement in Moscow, and saying like, I'm a Ukrainian woman in Chicago, and why does Joe Lindsley hate my country? Why does Joe say that Ukrainians and Russians are brothers? Something I've obviously never said, and they just create this. It's very intense right now on this.
Stay strong, bro. Strong. What can I say? Stay strong. This shit express is gonna be long and fast. Yeah.
That's what it is, man. I think of your I forget what the pilgrimage. What did you call that? The name of the Camino?
Camino Podolico. Podolico.
Podolico in it's like South Central Ukraine. A very long and lonely road. That's
And you just go step by step, just one step at a time, and you just
or
go.
as we say, malo po malo.
Malo po malo, exactly.
That
That's the best strategy for me at this very moment. It used to be very good. I adored it. But during the wartime, this is probably the only strategy I stick to. Because there is so much things around I don't control and can't control. But the only thing I really can control is my next step. And so I try to focus on my next step. Yes, I have some destination ahead, but I try to invest myself fully into here and now, into my step today. Yeah, that's probably the best idea. So, bro, stay strong, stay strong.
But I want to play. We'll put this in the clip as we close up here. I want to play this. I just saw this. You know the cultural forces, the Ukrainian soldier musicians, like Kolya Serga, Sasha Bool,
Yeah, sure.
and they just spent 2 months traveling the U.S. And on WGN radio, I tried to keep the audience like informed as these guys were snaking their way across America, and for 2 months, and really they had some great adventures. And anyway, I just saw a video of one of the guys, Taras. He plays the Bandura, the great Ukrainian 64 stringed instrument, and he was playing with Sting backstage somewhere.
Nice.
It's one of them. So I played the clip at the end here, and I think it was almost like Sting's voice was made to go with the Bandura.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely amazing.
It was wonderful. And but Taras and that whole crew in October, they went to my parents' house during their travels, and there was a Trump rally like 5 miles away, but they were at my parents' house, and it was my grandmother's birthday. So the guy who was playing with Sting was playing the Bandura for my grandmother, and it was a nice. It was sort of the best postcard I could send back to the U.S. But I'll put that at the end of the show here. The great moment with Sting and Bandura.
Cool. That's a good ending. Yeah.
Yeah. We need something. We need some encouragement. And Max, well, I wish you and the family and everyone in Kharkiv a Merry Christmas, and let's
Likewise, my friend. Likewise.
completing another year of life in war, and we'll continue our how war can fix your brain.
Look, yeah, that's really a very powerful insight we had back then. At least I had back then. That was really powerful for me, knowing that there's something bright, not good. It's it's crazy to say, but something on a on the bright side of war. And this is exactly the reassessing the values I had, reassessing my ways of living, my relationships with people, my understanding what is really important and what is not, understanding my priorities. And by the way, during this conversation, I had my own insight speaking about my decision to stay in Kharkiv. I suddenly understood that this is exactly the freedom I was talking about. This freedom to choose no matter what, even in the most dangerous conditions or terms around, I have this freedom to choose. And it's so important for me. And those are two insights I'm thankful to you, bro. First insight during our trip, second insight during our talk today.
And you say it's a freedom to choose because you can't ignore that choice because
these motherfuckers are trying to make me leave, to make me and my family leave. And I have this freedom to say no, because I decide not to. This is my choice not to go. You will not make me go there. And this is the freedom I probably have never put this way. Like,
Well, it's a real power too. The freedom, the will, the freedom of your will. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I just read. I don't know if you've seen this book. I think you would like it. I listened to a book called "The Splendid and the Vile" by Eric Larson about Winston Churchill and everyone in his circle during the Blitz in London, and it's really great. And there's so many parallels with Ukraine. A lot of differences. For example, Kharkiv city is there's much less crime than there was in London during the Blitz, but in many ways, a lot of connections. And one of them was several people would write in their journals about how they felt totally free, like during an air raid. When the Germans were flying over, and they thought it was first they felt kind of bad. They thought this is an insane feeling, but the way it works with your adrenaline, and then the fact that you've chosen to face this and not surrender creates this it's really powerful sense of freedom. And so it was nice for me to see like those things we talked about on the Donbass road trip are some emotions that people have experienced in London, for example, in the 1940s. And so it's not so unusual in these extreme circumstances.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, thank you for the insight as always. And since it's the end of the year, and a great time for a lot of people in the U.S. try to do a lot of philanthropy. How can people? We'll put a link in the description. But how can people support you? What do you need right now?
Well, we need a lot of things. A lot of projects are going on, but at this very moment, we are fundraising for a vehicle for our friend in Kraken. From Kraken. That's enough. I can't say anything else because he's from intelligence service, and that's all I can say. We have a website. We have a landing page for this exact fundraiser. So if you want to help us help our friend from Kraken, from Kharkiv region, please do. We'll really appreciate, because cars is something, and vehicles, all kinds of vehicles, is something our soldiers need on a daily basis, unfortunately.
Great. Well, we'll be happy. And, I think today we're about to buy some drones for Achilles, which you also work with.
Yeah.
And but we'll put the link in to get a car or a truck, whatever you need, for your friend from Kraken. Well, Kraken is it's a hard key. How would you describe Kraken in a few words?
It used to be a private brigade. Now it's a very, is a structure of the Ukrainian army, and those are just crazy guys who, give those motherfuckers bring some pain in the ass.
So please. Make Kraken happy this Christmas. Help protect Kharkiv, in particular. And, so we welcome support at the link in the bio. And Max Burtsev, thank you so much, my friend. Дуже дякую.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I hope to be back there soon in Kharkiv. Man, I've been gone for too long. By the way, the Russian bots, man, they pay attention. They're like, Joe, how come you're not in Kharkiv so often? And they're like, remember when you were in...
That's not bots, that's me.
Is it you? Okay, it's actually you. Yeah. Like, remember, you promised you were going to go to Kharkiv on October 15th. What the fuck? Anyway, all right, now I know. All right, my friend. I'll see you soon, man. And this has been our Radio War Day Daily War Journal, carrying on from WGN, broadcasting every single day until victory. We keep going. Malu pomalu. Thank you all. UkrainianFreedomNews.com. Joe Lindsley.
Thank you, my friend.
This is a Ukrainian traditional instrument called Bandura.
Okay.
It's like very traditional Ukrainian birthday song. It's not happy birthday. It's something like that you will hear only in Ukraine. Многая літа, літа, многая літа. Многая літа, літа, многая літа. Во здравие, во спасение многая лета. Use the cause as a meditation. Those he plays never suspect. He doesn't play for the money he wins. He don't play for respect. He'd use the cards to find the answer. Sacred geometry of chance. The hidden law of a probable outcome by the numbers they dance. Know that the spades are the swords of the soldier. Know that the clubs are weapons of war. Money for this art, that's not the shape of my heart.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Что он сказал?
Well, which side are you on? На чьей ты стороне? На чьей ты стороне?